All right, here we go. This is the briefing for December 6, 2019. A look at what you missed from the headlines while you were staring down a scope on the range. Let's take a look around. First up, the Army has announced new protective eyewear upgrades for soldiers. At the top of the list are faster transition lenses, ones that change shade depending on lighting conditions. The newly approved transition combat eye protection lenses use sensors instead of UV rays to adjust as soldiers go from light to dark or vice versa. The change can take just milliseconds instead of the 5 to 10 seconds of commercial lenses. The new lenses are part of the 27 approved products on the Army's authorized protective eyewear list, which also includes new cold weather goggles that can better resist fog in severe conditions. Okay, as always, let's go to the Capitol for some news. The official design concept for the National Desert Storm and Desert Shield War Memorial was unveiled this week, the latest step in a years-long effort to build a monument for the conflict. Early designs called for a semicircular wall that symbolized the left hook taken by U.S. troops through the desert of Saudi Arabia that cut off Iraqi troops. The memorial is intended to be set near Washington, D.C.'s Lincoln and Vietnam memorials and is projected to be completed in 2021. All right, keep me here for the next bit. Over to Congress. The Senate Armed Services Committee has heard updates on efforts to improve privatized housing amid reports of substandard living conditions at some military installations.
The time for talk is over. If these companies can't get the job done, you owe it to the military families to find a company who will.
Top officials from all 4 service branches were on the Hill to brief senators on ongoing investigations into problems like mold and rats in homes that have caused chaos for military families across the country.
I think we've identified 2 main problems. The military chain of command abdicated responsibility for this when the contracts were entered into. But secondly, these housing companies, they had a double standard. If they treat their private tenants badly, they'll go elsewhere. But they treat military tenants like they're captives.
House and Senate Armed Services Committees have pledged to fix the housing issues as more and more problems have been reported. All right, hold your horses, Navy. I'm getting there. The possibility of reinstating beards in the Navy as acceptable facial hair might have just been opened by the Chief of Naval Personnel, Vice Admiral John B. Nowell Jr., in a recent Facebook Q&A.
It's been about good order and discipline. It's been about uniformity. I'm not saying that we're not looking at it, and I'm not saying that it's not something that we're not willing to consider.
Beards have had a long history in the Navy and were within regulation as recently as the 1980s, but no word yet if the Admiral is going to bring them back. Moving on, let's head out to the range.
So what you see behind me is what could be the biggest change in Marine Corps rifle qualification in about a century. So what the Marine Corps has done here at Weapons Training Battalion at Marine Corps Base Quantico is put together a more realistic shooting package that looks a lot more like combat. Marines are wearing the combat gear they would wear in combat, shooting the weapon they're going to shoot in combat. They can use their magazine as support, they can use a barricade, they can use their rucksack or even a bipod if they're carrying the M27, for instance. All these things were not really on the table in previous shooting qualifications. They're also going to shrink down the shooting qualifications from a 10 to 14 day period that every Marine has to go through every year to about 3 days. Basically, you show up, you do positions, you use some dry fires, and you start shooting. And that's basically what's going to be expected of Marines if they want to qualify with their weapon and be considered lethal by new Marine Corps standards. Now, the Marine Corps Weapons Training Battalion is looking to possibly implement this by 2021 after they worked out some experimentation in the coming year.
For more details on that story, head to MarineCorpsTimes.com and check out Todd's coverage. That's all we have time for in this week's briefing. Check us out on what people in the 90s, for a hot second, just called the net, and on the modern versions of MySpace. RIP MySpace. We'll see you next week.